Yeah, you took a breath.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Bev's just ready to go. Let's go.
I'm raring. These are the days of our lives.
Couldn't tell her she wouldn't stop talking. We can't talk before recording because we
Because we hit the ground running. That's why. And we start having all these conversations like that should have been on the recording.
and sometimes it's juicy stuff, I'll tell you. Some things we just don't want to say on a recording.
That's true too. So we don't harm our loved ones. No, just kidding. Yeah, I'm only kidding a little bit.
Just a little names are removed to protect the what they think is innocent.
Exactly.
Girl, it's been a week.
It's been a week.
Man, Man, did I get into a mood and an attitude and F-bombs and all the things for a few days in a row because I was in it and I'm still in it. You know, with the weekend, you get a little bit of a breath, even though I could take a breath in the middle of it. And I've talked about it. We've talked about it. Here are the tools, techniques. But I will say I still have my moments. I still have the shit buried inside of me that has not come up yet and is come up. This week was a revealing of what is still left inside of my being. So it
I
was
love
not
it.
pretty.
But I love it. And if to go along with that, if you look, if anyone follows like scientifically stuff, that's out there, the Schumann resonance has been saying for the last, I think it's almost been 2 weeks, that it's been a roller coaster ride. So if people feel like they're on a roller coaster ride, because I could be doing great one day and the next day I could be a blubbering idiot, and I feel like that sometimes. Not that I am, because I'm not judging myself from that space any longer, but it has been an emotional ride. And it is, the energies are really evoking all this energy out of us because it's not benefiting us to continue carrying it. And it's also because we're ready for it to let go.
Yeah.
It's really that easy. And it's just not getting caught up in this stuff. Although I say that, but I have in the last few weeks, it's been a ride. It's not been pretty, and it's not been, I would say, probably ultimately in the long run it'll be beneficial for my relationships, but in the immediate it wasn't beneficial for my relationships from the way that it feels and stuff like that. But I feel like in the long run, there's, just like you said, you've got stuff that's coming forward and it's got to come forward. Otherwise, we're still carrying it, and it's just all of a sudden a beam of light hit that space, and it's like, what the hell?
And it's, everything that you're saying is spot on to the fact. Somebody asked me if Jupiter was in retrograde, and I'm like, I don't know. Let me find out because I don't really follow all that. I just hear it when somebody says it or it pops up on my social feed or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that explains a lot. And so I look, no, Jupiter is not in retrograde. It just came out of retrograde and it's going to go back in December. However, there are four other planets in retrograde right now, and everything you said validates what the planets are saying with this retrograde is that um, things are being revealed. Uh, the negativity, the emotional roller coaster, the like it's all coming up. It's like all bubbling to the surface. And then it's it's being able with all of that, um, those who are attempting or are, I would say I'm more attempting and I have intention too, but right now I am attempting, trust me, to stand in the light and to be that light and to shed a light and to breathe love into what's happening. It takes a tremendous amount of steadfast focus, consistency, and I've never said that anything that we talk about is easy. None of it is easy. And it is definitely an opportunity to notice what feels good to you and what does not feel good to you. I've experienced this. I've been on an immense emotional and mental roller coaster in this past week. and then experience came up, and I on one day I was standing in my power and my confidence, and I was accepting a challenge. But I was ready. Like I was putting my armor on, my shoulders back, my head up, and I was stepping into it, and I was ready. It's not a fight. It's not a battle. It's none of those. To me, it was a challenge. A challenge to me of can I stand in the light and share positivity around something where so much darkness is being focused on. And I was ready for that. It was an incredible day. I had so much support, um, human and non human perspective. Okay. Because I know I had spirit around me and they still are. And I have my ways of knowing that. Um, The next day, it seemed like a freaking shitstorm. From 6 a.m. until about 4 p.m., it didn't seem like anything was going right. One thing after another, just chopping me at like just chop, 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 chop. And I was struggling. I will just say I did not hold it together whatsoever that day. It was unlimited amount of F-bombs. It was a very uncomfortable attitude. It was difficult in seeing through the eyes of perspective that I was having because it was not pretty. It wasn't positive by no means. And what was interesting though is the people around me were like, okay, and this is happening and this is happening. And they're trying to shed the light on where I was coming from, a more heavy, emotionally, mentally heavy perspective. And then the next day, so it was 3 days in a row. I'm high on energy. I'm good. Next day, boy, things just crapped out. And then the following day was it's just the way it is. Like I just lost. It was like I lost almost all emotion. Like I was just in this flat line, surrender. Somebody would say something to me. I'm like, okay. Or they had asked me a yes or no question, or they would tell me something was happening. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. Whatever you want to do. It's great. Like, even if in my being I knew it was not going to be good, I was like, here we are. It's the way it is. And I just almost, it was that moment of when you're at such a level of intensity, emotional, mental intensity, whether it was a higher vibrational frequency, which was I was on 2 days before that, and then I hit the lower vibrational frequencies all day. And then, so having that emotional roller coaster, like you're saying, that third day, just color me done. Like I was in that moment of, it wasn't that I couldn't take anymore. I didn't want to take anymore. I, and I still had several moments of lower vibrational energy, and I was looking for the good. So trying to keep myself pulling myself out of what I was experiencing. Shining the light on darkness, it takes a tremendous amount of internal strength and leaning on the strength of spirit, of the angels, God, whoever you are leaning towards. S- Strength and confidence, internal power. You have to hold steadfast because at some point you just get to, no matter how much light you're shining, you feel, I felt, I won't speak for everybody. I felt like in some aspects it was useless. but I know that wasn't true because of the responses I was getting and the support I was getting was it was huge. It was so good. It was so good. But because I was over here focused on shining that light on the darkness, I was focused on the darkness. And then you start consuming it and focusing on it, and it just started weighing me down, pulling me down, and I went with it.
So there's so much that we could unpack from that. There's so
Oh,
many different
yes.
perspectives. There really is. On some perspectives, you got to a place of allowing yourself to receive. So giving and receiving. Also, like day one, you're like allowing all this to now. I guess the question would be, were you like trying to stay in that space, or were you, no, everything was just flowing your way. It was just flowing. It was, you were in the flow of things. And then the next day, when you were hitting a low, it gives everybody else the opportunity to step it up. It gives everybody else the opportunity to see that Amy goes through struggles too, and this is how she's going to process things. Because how we show up, whether it's good or bad, it's going to give someone else the opportunity for their own growth. And sometimes we have to show up in these ways in order for them to maybe that day you needed to be a mirror for other people too. I know that when we're processing this dark stuff that's on the inside, the stuff that needs to be revealed, it's not just an inside job, it's an outside job too, because it's happening throughout the world. It's not just within each person. I have witnessed so much stuff in these spaces going into town. I've seen people walk across the street on a very busy street with a green light you would never walk across without going through I mean, he walked across on the crosswalk, but it wasn't his turn to walk across. There's traffic that's going through and he didn't care. He just kept his head down and walked all the way through. He made it across. So on one side, this is amazing. On the other side, other people were paying attention. It could have been a bad situation. I watched people arguing. I watched people coming unglued, unraveled in front of other people, which perhaps I could have done in the past too, but I've got to witness a lot of this stuff. I had my own experience that I would say I decided to have a sort of a reading or a psychic connection with somebody else. And I knew prior to going into that that it probably wasn't a good idea because we are amidst these energies that are chaotic. But I learned a lot from this situation. Um, Information was coming through, it was all perfect and divine. And then all of a sudden, I noticed that the person that was doing the information was triggered emotionally by something that was I had said, and they were using a tool. And I know for myself, if I'm using a pendulum or my wands or anything like that, if I'm in that process and I start and I'm emotionally attached to something or have had an emotional trigger to something, my answers are going to be muddied. They're not true and reflective. But on the other side of that, even though this person had that moment, which created a moment for myself, but it created an opportunity for me to be like, this is my time. It's so important for us to check in with ourselves. It's one thing to receive information, but it's another thing, instead of running with that, it's another thing to stop and feel that emotion within yourself and really ask yourself, is this true? And then, having conversations that are important conversations after that. But it was such a learning process for me. And then me knowing, because I'm telling you, every single day I get an update on the Schumann resonance, and she would say, it's crazy right now. And this is what it looks like if you're going through this part, if you're, dealing with the dark side of things. And this is what it looks like if you're like on the other side of it. And I could be on both sides. I could be on both sides the same day. It would fluctuate. I could have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There was so much, and it continues. It's not going to stop right now. We've got, I guess, like they said, 4 blocks of this basically that it's going to be like back to back to back with all the stuff that's happening. And so that knowledge really help me to support myself, actually, to step back and recognize this wasn't mine, and also to really process how I'm handling these emotional triggers when these triggers come up, when they're shown up for me now. And I've talked about it on here, but it's like you said, we're in a process of our own growth, really. And it's not, once we get wrapped up into something, once it gets a hold of us or snags us, and we let it lead us down the path instead of us being the one that's in control of that path, it can be a little bit crazy. Well, for me, it was a lot crazy. And it was from day to day. Like one day I was even having heart palpitations. I don't have heart palpitations, but I was having extreme things that, but in, once I had recognized that this is energetically, there's a lot of stuff going on, it would make sense to me. Then I would recognize, okay, it's a trigger. And then I would slow down and be like, okay, if these are triggers, I'm going to stop, not associate the person, place, thing, or experience with the trigger that I'm experiencing this moment, and just feeling the emotion within myself, seeing it as if it's a little child, zero judgments, just witnessing it, breathing into it, and then it would just go away and it would be fine. There was a day that I couldn't, I tried to get into meditation and it's like, I could zero, no, hell no, I could not get into that place no matter what. And so it's like it's slowing down, it's breathing, it's all the things that we've talked about. But sometimes when you're once you're in it, that's why it's so important for us to have friends, people around us that we look up to that can help guide us out of these things or give us some information that could be beneficial in that moment, so we can catch our breath and then we can go into that meditation. But it's also learning how to be in that space, even though there's chaos going around. So it's like, okay. And right now, as I'm saying this, it's remembering we can ask the universe to slow things down. I'm having a real hard time processing all of this at one time right now. Can we slow this down so that I can process this? And that's us speaking up for ourselves, recognizing that we have boundaries because we need the boundaries sometimes because we're still going through this growth. And then asking the questions like, I've had to ask myself numerous times, is this mine? Is this my energy right now? A lot of times it would go away because it wasn't my energy. And then sometimes it wouldn't go away. And I'm like, what the hell? This isn't supposed to be mine. Okay, look, what can we do with this? And then I would do the whole process. I would stop and start breathing. Um, just constantly, like you said, you have to be steadfast. It's you, otherwise you can let it rule your whole life and it's a miserable place to be in. But on the other side of that, you spent a day in it from 6 to 4. You didn't spend 3 years in it. You didn't spend a week in it, a month. You know what I mean? And it's just really taking the time for that. Um, Also in relationships, when there's the opportunity, and I call it an opportunity now because I didn't see it that way before, when there's not a lot of communication, it's an opportunity for you to reflect within self. It's almost as if the universe is having that person in whatever relationship. It could be with your kids, your coworkers, your spouses, whatever. But it's that opportunity to step back and be able to process what you're feeling without dragging the other person into it. Now, I don't always do that. So, but I also see the repercussions of not doing that. And so it's just a learning. It's just learning to, because I don't like the way it feels. And so it's just learning how to navigate through that in every moment. But if we can recognize it's not always, it's not our fault. We didn't do anything wrong. There's no reason to judge ourselves. This is just an opportunity to retreat, go within self, process. And sometimes, if you can, you just got to call off work. You just don't go in. You just don't do the thing that day. It's recognizing where you're at, what you're capable of, and knowing that maybe you needed that time that day for yourself, but also maybe you needed all that to happen in order for you to process other things so you could evolve from it. Maybe there was such a want and desire, or that we're jumping into such a into timelines or whatever that we can't carry that stuff with us anymore. It's almost like we have to do a massive dump of everything. And then I say all that stuff, and I'm talking to one of my very close friends. Um, she, she was telling me how she had gone through her phone and started deleting stuff, and it's like I had crap in my phone that if someone was to say something, I had backup. Like I had proof right here. This is how the conversation went. This is the truth right here. And then I thought, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? Why am I keeping myself in a story that makes me unhappy? Why am I reading that old chapter? So I started going through and deleting stuff. Now, I'm not telling everyone to delete everything, but if you can save it so you don't have it on your phone, and then later on you can delete it, so that way you still have it, but it's not something you have to look at all the time. It's not something you have to experience. Or just cut cold turkey because I'm in the process of selling all, all my husband's stuff. I'm just getting rid of it. And I'm at the point now where it's like, well, if people aren't going to buy it, I'm just going to have to donate it because I'm tired of carrying this old stuff. It was his stuff and he doesn't care about this stuff anymore. Why should I carry this stuff anymore? Processing pictures. Why do I have all these pictures and stuff? I've got a huge box of pictures. I don't look at them. They're just there. I'm going to take them down to my kids and tell them take what they want. And whatever they don't want, I'll go through it. If there's some things that I want to keep, I'll keep, but it's going to be narrowed down to where it's not a huge box anymore and it can go somewhere else. It's not something that has to be there. Or maybe I save it for whatever. Because at some point, someone in the future isn't going to recognize any of these people and it's not going to matter to them at all. And it's like, why are we carrying all this stuff forward? All this stuff filling up our spaces and carrying all this stuff. It doesn't make sense. So I'm in the middle of I would say, a great purge, and it's necessary for me. I'm not saying it's necessary for everybody else, but it's necessary for me because I'm not going to continue reading that book anymore. I'm done with that book.
As you were talking, I was remembering that this is a 1 year of new beginnings. So creating a
Oh,
foundation, and that foundation, we got to clear out some shit. We got to clear it out.
okay.
When they're getting ready to build a house, they level out the dirt. Like we got to clear the boulders and the stuff that's in the way to set that foundation that's going to allow us to build on it and it be strong and sturdy and supportive. And like you're saying, when you're holding on to the stuff, whether it is material stuff, energy stuff, mental, emotional, physical stuff, that your foundation is going to be built on the old. And the old, yes, has provided information for us to grow on, but that's not the foundation we want it to be built on. So clearing the stuff that no longer is serving you. Even myself, I was so proud, like all this stuff behind me, the decoration, the all the things, like trying to make it all beautiful and eye appealing. And now I'm like, now I'm ready to get rid of it, have a different color on the wall, and just put a few things back there. I'm good. Like I'm picking up stuff around my house where I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I don't need to hold it, and it goes in the trash.
Okay.
And just being done with the stuff that is contributing to something that is no longer serving me. And it's the same as that internal stuff that's coming up. This stuff is no, it is okay. So we got to differentiate the difference between it being a benefit and not being a benefit.
Oh,
It's not a benefit in me. This emotional and mental stuff that I'm hanging on to from my history is not a benefit to me because it is still stored in my body and I'm getting triggered by it. And meaning that somebody outside of me does something and it creates discord within me because of the stored emotional mental stuff in me. So my buttons are still getting pushed where that aggression or anger or frustration still is being exposed. Now, that is for me the benefit of me digging into that if I so choose to decide or figure out or reveal what it is that I am still storing within me: experiences, memories, words, uh, physical expressions. What is it in me that I'm still hanging on to? And the benefit is that I can look at that and go, oh, yep, I see how that has affected me. And now I can see it differently and I can do my healing around it. That is the benefit. But when that happens, that comes out. It's no longer stored. It's no longer in me. That piece. Now, a single experience can cause multiple layers of mental and emotional storage. There's a level of frustration, anger, irritation, judgment, guilt, criticism, love, joy, excitement, blessings, miracles. It could store all of that in one experience. But the pieces that typically get triggered the most is the drama and the trauma, and that's what comes up, and then that surfaces and causes the internal discord within myself. Whereas if that wasn't in me, this past week would not have happened in the way that it did. It would not have happened. I would have sat back, I would have processed it, moved through it, sailed through it, like on roller skates, just like, whoo, here we go, right? Nope. I sat in it, I dramatized and traumatized over it and got angry and frustrated and criticized and judged, and I did all the things. But then what Bev said was, but it was for a day, not 3 years. And that is an absolute factual statement because in the past, it was years of holding on to things. It was years of not knowing, because I didn't know then what I know now, not knowing how much we store within our mind and body of all these trauma and drama experiences. I know that now. And it was a day, it wasn't years. Because if I was still hanging on to it, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation in the way that we're having it. There's no way, no how. You probably need to come over and do an exorcism on me because it would be horrible, girl. I would be like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, tea time's off, right? No, I want to come. I want to talk about it. I want to hear perspective like that, what Bev brings. I want to be engaged in this conversation to be like, okay, and there's this side of it too. Thank you for exposing that. Thank you for having the conversation. Thank you for saying these things because I know all these things. I've been practicing them for years, these techniques, these tools, these healing, the growing, the personal development. And there's still moments in time that a button gets pushed and I lose my shit. And it's okay because it was a moment in time and it's not forever.
Mm-mm.
It's been hours, it's not been weeks, months, or years.
And it's all resistance. That's all. When I was thinking about
Oh,
the all the messages that I've saved, it's all I've got messages from Gemini from over 6 years ago, from years ago. This is all resistance from keeping us into allowing ourselves to be in our own happiness and our own joy. And then it's the question is, why am I, and I'm getting goosebumps, why am I keeping myself in the struggle? Because I grew up with other people that learned how to keep themselves in the struggle. And that was the way that I, back to the same old thing, fight or flight. This is how you survive in life. And I don't want to be a survivor. I want to be a thriver. I've been a survivor. I want to thrive now. And
yeah.
it's time. It's time. And the only way we can do that is by allowing all this stuff to happen. Yesterday was Lionsgate because this is Sunday. It was 8/8 yesterday. And I know it lasts till like 8/12 is from what I understand. I did this meditation that started at 4:45. And during the meditation, I went in and out of my space, which will happen to me. I just watched a dragonfly going by, which happens to me. And I got to a point where like, how come that she's still talking? I'm like, how, she's still this whole flow is going through her. And I'm like, when is this gonna freaking end? And I started noticing all this anger in myself, and I started getting more and more angry about it. And I stopped for a second and realized because I want my heart open, and I felt all this anger in my chest, and I just felt all that anger in my chest, and I just laid there and felt it, and then it went away. And then by the end of it, she was saying, I love you. She said it over and over again, and I just sat and bawled, just sat and cried to have that moment of release, to feel that. And that's the relief. When I tell people to stop and breathe in it, find it where it's at in your body. And I've tried to explain this to even my grandson because he tells me the other day, we're driving home and he says, Grandma, he's sitting on my lap and he's driving and he says, Grandma, have you been getting my messages? Because we telepathy or telepathically send information. I've been in my own shit so much that I wasn't receiving the messages. And that right there was like a that was like an awakening moment for me to be like, it's my responsibility. It goes back to what you were talking about. It's my responsibility to really manage my energy, to really take the time to be steadfast and stand in my power and not get taken over by all this other stuff because otherwise I'm missing the messages. And it's like there's been a couple of times that I know that I had he had popped into my head, but it's like I was not in a space mentally, emotionally to be able to process or handle any of that kind of stuff. But when he said that, it was like, okay. So then I tried to explain to him like this process of breathing into it. And I haven't been very clear because he's like, I'm not really sure I understand and that part of it. But I love it because we can have these conversations because he's 9 and he's going to be 10 pretty soon. And I'm talking to his parents on Tuesday and I'm telling them, hey, I got these Freeman has bought us these linen sheets, and they're amazing. The first night I slept in them, I could feel the vibration. And I'm telling my kids this. I'm telling my daughter and my son-in-law. I'm telling them this. I could feel my whole body was vibrating from these sheets. It was incredible. I feel things though, and then I watch them have an. They look at each other. You know how couples will like stop and they'll look at each other, and if they have a moment. Well, I know my daughter understands. I think she understands where I'm coming from a lot, but I know my son-in-law doesn't get where I'm at, and that's okay. But I also had an emotional reaction from that too, because the little girl in me noticed that, oh, I did something wrong. Somebody doesn't like the way I showed up, and it's like they think I'm crazy or they think I'm weird, and it reminded me of being a kid. And so it was an opportunity. It's not for me to be upset with them because they can only understand. It's not their job to understand where I'm coming from. It's not. If they get it, what I'm saying, they get it. If they don't, they don't. If they have an experience someday down the road because they're like thinking, oh, she's freaking crazy. Well, that just gives them the opportunity to have the same experience and to recognize it wasn't crazy. And now they're feeling something, and then they may come back to me, or maybe he'll talk to his wife about it. Do you know what I mean? So it's just this whole thing is happening, but I see the dynamics of why my grandson might have these conversations. And I asked him, I said, what was going on that you're reaching out so much? And he says, I actually felt I was just kind of sad. I kind of felt depressed. I don't know if he actually used the word depressed, but I almost feel like he did, which would be a learned behavior. He could learn it from someone else. And this is what this feels like, right? Because we learn these things from the people that are around us. The we feel what they feel, and he feels he knows that. So he talks to me about these things. And not everybody in his family feels things like that. Not everybody understands those things, and that's okay because it gives us the opportunity to have these conversations. You and I, him and I. It's there's such a domino effect, the butterfly effect. There's all these things that are happening that it may seem like it's not going in the direction that we want things to go, but it always is. It always is. Even the days that are shit.
It all serves a purpose in
It
some
all serves
way
a purpose.
or another.
You might just need extra toilet paper that day. I don't know.
All of it serves a purpose in one way or another. It's really about the perspective of, is it serving the purpose to keep you stuck in a lower vibrational energies, or is it serving the purpose of for you to heal, grow, learn, expand, and allow your light to shine a little brighter? It doesn't have to be a lot brighter, just a little brighter. Just that little pinprick of light can now become the the size of the head of a pin, a push pin, right? Like just a little bigger, a little brighter. And we keep practicing that and keep allowing our light to get brighter and brighter and brighter. This is what the darkness doesn't like. The darkness doesn't like the light because there can't be darkness if there's light. And it would be a practice of what are you going to do to allow your light to shine brighter and be more consistent. And I say that out loud, not just for whoever's listening to this video, this recording, but to myself. What am I going to do to allow my light to shine brighter and keep growing in my light and utilizing the tools that I know I have to help me do that, and lean on people around me and lean on spirit. So, Bev and I are not the only ones having these conversations. Bev and I are not the only ones who processing our personal development, our growth and expansion. Many people are seeking guidance, information, knowledge, wisdom, a direction, tools, techniques. And so by listening to this video, maybe it wasn't for you. Maybe there was just a little piece of it that was for you. Maybe this is for you to know the information to share it with somebody else. Maybe it's for you to know that Bev and I even exist and having these conversations and to share the link. Be resourceful. And it doesn't matter if it's our information or a spiritual teacher, a book, a song, doesn't matter. Be resourceful and share it because the more light we shine, the less darkness there can be. And the darkness is going to kick and scream. What it reminds me of is a 2-year-old having a temper tantrum in the grocery store who cannot have a candy bar. And they get louder and louder, and it's embarrassing, and it's a reflection. We take it as a reflection of ourselves that I'm not a good parent or I'm not doing something right. Like Bev said, I'm like reminding me that I'm going to get in trouble because this is happening. The darkness will kick and scream and throw a temper tantrum and be loud. And the light is steadfast. It shines bright. It keeps loving and just having that expansion that there is goodness in this world, and we have to hold that vision and that focus. So, with that, we do strongly and very much appreciate you listening and hanging out with us for this time. And we know you could do anything with your time, and you can't get back the time you just spent with us. So, we appreciate you, we honor you, and I am saying we, Bev and I, just, we hope, we pray that you find the direction that feels better to you and that you can keep walking that journey. And are you going to waver? Absolutely. Bev and I waver. We fall off the ginormous curb into the gutter, and then we got to pick ourselves back up, dust ourselves off, and keep going. It's going to happen. It's going to happen time and time again. We keep going and we keep growing and we keep shining our light even more. So thank you. And we appreciate you.
Thank you.